Well, I mean, here we go. This is
We're gonna get some hate for this.
I mean, it's.
I can see hashtag cancel WWTT. I mean, that's gonna trend. Huge.
Hashtag. What were we thinking?
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's Thomas F. Wilson, and it's not his best performance.
It's not even in his top 10.
Absolutely not. Oh. I mean that fucking ending. What the hell was that?
Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I'm
Garbage.
sorry, guys. This is gonna be a hot take episode.
Hard. Yeah. Well, you know what? Just pitter patter. Let's get at her. Sooner begun, sooner done. Just hit the theme music, man.
All right.
When I pick a movie, that's when I'm under pressure now. The question always comes back to me, what were they thinking now? Whoa, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
Welcome, everyone. This is a podcast. It is called What Were They Thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Brendan.
I'm Nathan.
We talk about bad to questionable movies, and I know you're looking at the title of this episode and thinking, that can't possibly be what you do, but that is what we do, guys. That is what we do.
Yeah. And probably going to get some flack over this one.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a movie. We're talking about an 80s movie that, got a lot of love. Thomas F. Wilson. Character actor extraordinaire. Oh well, let's just get into Back to the Future. April Fools! Come on, guys. Who do you think we
Seriously?
are? Who believes this?
Oh my god. Give your flux capacitor a shake. That movie's a goddamn classic.
That's right. Now let's talk about Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah. Overly long and no real Crispin Glover.
Oh yeah, fake Crispin. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Of course, we're not talking about Back to the Future, but we are talking about a movie that Thomas F. Wilson is in, and it's called April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day, yeah.
How apropos.
Exactly.
I have a question right away before we even get into this movie. When you say like April Fools, like when you prank someone, do you say April Fools or do you say April Fool?
Oh, April Fools.
Okay, because in this movie, we'll get into it, but in this movie they keep saying April Fool, and I'm like, that's not what you say. That's like a small thing, but that just like popped up to me. I was like, people don't say April Fool.
No, they say April Fools because it's April Fool's Day. If you're saying April Fool, it sounds like you're calling them the April Fool.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, wait, did they miss that one tiny bit of research that they should have put an apostrophe S? Yeah, so
maybe that's how affluent whites in the middle of the 80s said it.
Well, this is a very white movie that we're going to be talking about.
Yes, it is.
The Lily White horror comedy from 1986, April Fool's Day, not starring, but he's in it, Thomas F. Wilson. Mm-hmm. Ken Olant, which the name looked familiar. I think he's like in Leprechaun or something.
Okay.
And Amy Steele, who I had a huge crush on back in the day because she was the lead in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember her being one of my favorite final girls from that franchise.
Man, Biff was the only one who I knew that I could think of that I knew in this movie. Not a single person made me go, oh, what have I seen them in before?
I think maybe she stands out a bit more too because she does fight Jason pre-hockey mask, so he's got like that pillowcase over his head the whole movie.
Oh, the burlap sack.
Yeah, and he's like super stumbly. It's like a fucking Marx Brothers movie whenever he's running around. Oh man. So April Fool's Day. Break down this movie real quick. This is a movie. This is a slasher, I guess. It is a slasher, horror slasher comedy about a group of teens, quote unquote.
College students. They're college students.
Yeah. Okay. I'll buy that before I buy that they're teenagers. But they're all going to their friend Muffy's house, which we learn through one of the lines in the movie. I can't believe her real name is Muffy. It's not short for anything.
And that's the thing. You just starting with that right away lets you know this is going to be one of the whitest movies you've ever seen, without it being like a Jane Austen adaptation.
Yeah, this is basically Sense and Sensibility of horror. So they're going to their friend Muffy's for a big get together, and stuff starts happening. People start getting pranked because April Fool's Day, and then
I did like how they opened it with the whole video camera thing, like they were filming like a bios or something like that. My first note was, so we're gonna watch a legitimate snuff film.
And then at the end, everybody just shows up and takes a bow, and they're like, April Fool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they go to their friend Muffy's, and a bunch of April Fool's Day gags. But then suddenly shit starts turning real. People start dropping like flies. Hilarity ensues, as you like to say.
Yep.
That's pretty much. That's a pretty basic plot. There's not a lot to break down there. But let's get into the nitty gritty. Like you said, this movie does start with some snuff film footage. It seems like, and I got to tell you right now, I have notes. So whenever I heard a name of a character, because I had a real hard time keeping that together.
I did the same thing.
Okay.
Honest to goodness, and I'm probably not going to remember everybody's name or have written down everybody's name. I remember Muffy.
Yeah.
I remember Skip.
Yes.
Art.
Art is we can just call him Biff.
Yeah.
I know Kit is the final girl. That's Amy Steele.
And she's with Rob.
Yep. And
then
Nan is the proper one. Prim and proper girl.
Yeah. And then is it Chaz or
Chaz is like the creepy, like Entourage like level filmmaker.
Oh yeah.
He's like Billy. What's that guy from Entourage, like Billy or whatever?
I don't know. I didn't watch Entourage.
Oh, you're missing out.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Yeah, and then there's Buck.
Is there a Buck?
Yeah, he's the one.
That was he was like the ferryman, wasn't he?
He's the first like victim.
Oh, the guy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Oh, which I had noted his name should have been Buckeye.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're making a video at the beginning, and right away it's an April Fool's Day joke because I think and Nikki is the, let's just see how we can put this in today's terms, sexually adventurous one.
Yes.
Every horror movie had one, and this one is no exception. But I think she's the one making the video at the beginning, pretending to be like, I want to go to convent school, and yeah, also I fuck on the first date. April Fool.
Hi, my name is Mary O'Reilly O'Toole O'Shea, and
Don't be nervous.
somewhere out there is the island my friend Muffy on. It's spring break, and she's invited us over there for the weekend, and we're waiting for the ferry now to take us there, and I don't know what else to say.
Why don't you tell us something, about yourself?
Oh, all right, something about myself.
Yeah.
I want to work with handicapped children, and my parents are my best friends. Oh, and I start convent school next semester, and I fuck on the first day. April Fools.
Whoa, Nikki, baby, you're outrageous. Hey, now get out of here, you knucklehead.
I gotta say too, as far as these like 80 slashers go, 95% of the time I want every one of these characters to die. Like I'm just like, all right, start killing them. I don't like any of them. In this one, there's a few that I'm okay with. Like there's a few that are fun.
I find as the genre progressed over years, my quickness to wanting the people to die really, really accelerated. If I watched like Nightmare on Elm Street or the original Halloween and stuff like that, though the characters I could get invested in, I wanted to see, But I mean, when we get into things like that, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake,
Duh.
oh my God, I was rooting for Freddy so hard. Even after the twist, I was like, you know what? They still deserve to die.
Oh, man. We do need to talk about that movie one day.
Yeah,
That is
no April Fooling on that.
No, that is a turd sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're meeting everyone basically here at this point. We're checking out their personalities, what they're all about. I do think Biff is a lot of fun in this movie. Thomas F. Wilson, I almost forgot his real name. He has this bit that he does with Chaz, like the creepy filmmaker dude who's always carrying a camera, where they're very like pretending to be gay a lot. And at one point I just wrote, all right, you guys are in a relationship at some point here.
I noted at one point, I was like, oh, please let this be like some groundbreaking movie that people just haven't talked about for some reason.
I was hoping because at one point they're joking with each other about like, ooh, I'm gonna ravage you, and I'm like, there's no one else in this room.
No, and they're cuddling in the bed and stuff too, and it's like there's more than there meets the eye here with these Transformers. So
whoa, wait a second, what cut did you watch? So yeah, they're hanging out. They're doing their video message, and then everybody's showing up. We cut to Muffy getting her party ready at her big. I mean, not mansion, but it's like a big like country estate type thing.
it is, yeah.
And she's got like mannequins and stuff in the basement. And she's got her housekeeper that's like, do you need any help, dearie? I don't know why she's Mrs. Doubtfire, but she's like, but Muffy's like, no, I have to prove to my father that I gotta do this on my own. And so, nothing suspicious yet.
No.
But she does say it's going to be, quote, bloody unforgettable. And then we get like a weird flashback to like a birthday party when she was a child.
Yeah.
She's received like a Jack-in-the-Box.
Pretty cool Jack in that box, because it wasn't your traditional Harlequin clown looking. It looked like a xenomorph.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Actually, Mariah was sitting with me. She wasn't really watching the movie, but when that thing popped up, she jumped. And I knew it was coming. That made it even better. But yeah, I don't really understand the birthday party stuff, like the flashback thing. Is that just to tell us that they've been friends for a while, or
okay, maybe, but I mean, I'm not gonna spoil the twist until we get to it, because I do think it's really fun. But it had that slasher, the way they put Muffy out into this, the way her character kind of develops, it's almost like you want to get a glimpse of that previous trauma that may have caused the cheese to slip off the cracker.
Right.
I mean, if anybody has seen Sleepaway Camp, right?
Yes.
So you're constantly seeing flashbacks to when, quote unquote, Angela was a kid, so you get to understand, where all the trauma and why, she went a little nuts. So I think that's what that's the mechanic that they're trying to use here, just to kind of get us fully invested into, what's going to happen in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're all getting together. They're getting ready to go off on a boat to get to the island where
And
Muffy's
there is
place
no
is.
12:30 sailing. What kind of backwoods town is this? No 12:30 sailing.
And not only that, but is that guy that's like, I'm not waiting. I'm not going back after that. He's like
That's my last run on Friday.
Yeah, he's like an old fisherman stereotype, which I love.
Yeah.
He's almost the ship captain from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
But people are showing up late. Oh, I forgot about another character. There's so many in this movie, but there's another character named Hal.
Or Harv, because they keep calling him Harv. He's like, it's Hal.
Yeah, he's a bit of a skeeve. Actually, a lot of them are kind of skeeves.
He actually put me in mind of a southern version of Alex P. Keaton.
Okay.
Very Reagan era young Republican.
Yes. And actually, Thomas F. Wilson, why did I say his full name? He makes a comment later about, like, why should I care about where I work when we had a crazy guy who could drop a nuke at any time or set off bombs? And I'm like, oh, he's the anti-Reagan guy.
Yeah. Well, I think he was just talking about the Cold War in general at that point.
Yeah, but
it was heightened on all sides.
Yeah, he does make some like quick reference to our own guy or something like that though that I noted. I was like, oh, okay, taking shots.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all on the boat dock, getting ready to take off. Chaz, the creepy filmmaker, at one point says like, "You have great legs," to someone.
Yeah, that's not even the creepiest thing he does on this boat ride over. At one point, there's a Nan is, I think is it Nan or is it
the Nan is like the proper prim and proper one.
So she's reading a book, and he asks her what she's reading. Fuck. And she tells him what it is. I can't remember what the book was because she asks him what he's reading, and he says, "Oh, Treasure Island." And he's actually like he's reading like a smut mag, and shows her like a full on picture from it with a. I'm assuming obviously so they could just sustain the R rating, where the private parts are blacked out. Yeah. But you can clearly see that he is reading pornography.
And that is probably a lot weirder that he does that. He also has a reoccurring joke that he does that's so hilarious that he keeps like telling people their flies down.
Oh, that's his April Fool joke.
Yeah, but then one of them, this guy, I think it's Rob, whose fly actually is down, and when he pulls it up, the zipper sound effect is so loud. I noted that. I was like, it is like dominant on the audio track.
Rob, your fly is open. Okay, don't believe me.
Oh, nice.
Oh, we also meet Skip, because I mean we are meeting everybody here. But Skip is Muffy's cousin, and he hits it off quite well with Art, a.k.a. Biff, a.k.a. Thomas F. Wilson. And they play this game called Stretch. I'd never heard of this thing.
With a knife, right?
But it involves, it involves a switchblade, them throwing the switchblade, and they have to stretch to reach it, or to pick it up out of the... I've never heard of it. I've never seen it anywhere before. This is the only time I've ever encountered this thing.
I mean, this is why we have safety protocols.
Right.
There were very dangerous games when we were all children. Well,
I mean, it's just Darwinian. Really, I miss lawn darts so bad. Loved jarts. They were so fun.
And this is one of the first major moments because Biff doesn't want to play anymore, and he throws it, and Skip seemingly gets stabbed in the gut by this knife and falls into the water.
Oh my God.
But then it turns out, April Fool, we were working together.
That's hilarious, isn't it?
Oh.
I mean, stabbed and nearly drowned. What a rambunctious bunch of pranksters.
By the way, editorial right now, I full on hate April Fool's Day. Because I don't mind like a harmless prank. But like when people do that shit, like I won't say their name, but a mutual friend of ours did a thing where he said like his dog died in a video or something, and I was like, that's not cool. That's
I think
that's pretty horrible.
I think the most memorable one I have in the past few years was a couple of years ago, and it happened absolutely organically. It was a couple of winters ago when we had that really hard winter where we didn't have hardly any winter until like the last 4 weeks of it when we got all of winter. And so we had gotten through that, and it was April 1st, and so we're about 8 days past when it's actually spring and stuff like that. And I was downstairs getting the kids ready for school and stuff like that, talking to Patty and things, and she's like, "This," and I'm so glad that this snow is gone. The kids have been off school, like off and on. They pretty much got like 2 March breaks because of it. And I was like, I know, and we're supposed to get another 15 centimeters this Friday. And she was like, fuck, she just started losing her mind because we were going to get more snow. And I just kind of let her burn out a bit and just be super angry. And I was like, no, what date's today? And she's like, you son of a bitch.
See, those are fine. That's fun. It's when people take it and they make it so mean.
Pregnancy and death are not things that
No.
you should use for April Fools.
No.
Just putting that out there.
Nope. Okay, and then another big thing here is that when they finally get to the island and they're about to dock, Buck gets out and tries to like pull the rope over the dock, and he gets like crushed, and he comes out and his fucking eye is like hanging out, and he gets quickly gets on a speedboat and takes off so they can take him to the hospital. And
yes, with Sheriff Thomas Hayden Church Sr.
oh, that's true.
He looked a lot like Thomas Hayden Church.
I love the idea too that because it's his father, he has the same middle name. They get over it so quickly.
Yeah, they do. They kind of they get off the ferry. They're disembarking, and he says one of the most offensive things to them. He says, "You people stay right here." And I was like, "You people, where?" Oh, right, everybody's white. Never mind.
Everybody's white as
super
as
white.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they I mean, yeah, he got his eye ripped out, and pitter patter, let's get at her. They get into
Let's carry on with our weekend.
Oh, I forgot to mention too. They make a muff dive reference, which I was like, oh, that only took 7 minutes. I was waiting for that.
I'm surprised there wasn't more of them,
I
given
know.
her name, right?
Just from Hal, which again adds to he's a real skis. But they get to Muffy's place, and they're walking around, and they see
apparently on a clear day you can see the Kennedys.
Was there a picture of the Kennedys?
No, she actually says that because they're talking about the view and how, like, you know beautiful it is, and she actually says at one point on a clear day you can see the Kennedys.
It's an odd thing to say.
It's a very rich white thing to say.
Oh yeah, I guess so. So yeah, and they're walking around, and why do I have this next?
About beans and wieners, maybe?
Yeah, what is that?
She serves them beans and wieners.
Rich people's delight.
It's funny because I think the whole thing again is to show that Muffy is kind of losing it, and that maybe she's trying to put out this. They're trying to put this idea to the audience that maybe her family's not in the best shape possible, because when they get into like the dinner area, there's like disposable cups and plastic sporks.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have beans and wieners for supper, and they don't have any kitchen help or anything that's gonna put this together for them. Muffy and I think it's Nan and Nikki.
Yeah.
Is it? They go in. They're the ones that are going to prepare the beans and wieners.
Yeah, and I think. Oh no, sorry, no, it's not Nan. It's Muffy and Nikki and Kit, because they're talking about like sex shit, and Nan is definitely not there.
Right. Okay.
Because she's like,
so
which one of these positions would you like to try? And she's like, anal entry. Because everyone's super horny in this movie too.
Oh well, I mean,
except for Nan.
You know, it's a 90s horror, 80s horror movie rather. There was that. There was also the joke about like their first sexual encounter. And I just noted A and B for most folks. It's somewhat disappointing, but I really cared for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they're doing like cosmopolitan tests, right? Like Cosmo magazine, basically. But after that, they do sit down to dinner, and oh boy, we got lots of April Fool's Day pranks here. They sit down. There's whoopee cushions. Biff nearly falls over because his chair has like rubber legs. Mm-hmm. There's other stuff going on, but I just want to talk about the other prank. Of course, Muffy makes a toast, and their glasses that like spill when you try to drink out of them.
Oh, they have the dribble glasses.
Yeah. And then we get this through line that doesn't really amount to much, but Rob, who's like Kit's boyfriend, says,
"Oh yeah!" Suddenly it turns into a goddamn Tennessee Williams play.
Yeah, because he's talking about like, "Oh, Rob, tell everyone about how you're going to medical school," and he's like, "No, my counselor told me I shouldn't go. I'm not worth anything."
That's later, actually. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's like there's drama from that, and I'm just like, okay, how's that going to pay off? It doesn't really.
No. But I mean, well, I mean, it does and it doesn't. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
There's while the meal's being prepared, the others are walking around too. We see that Hal swipes a bunch of cigars,
Yeah.
which comes back to bite him.
He's also practicing, like, I think at one point he's off on his own practicing how he's going to pick up Muffy. He's like, hey, our families are friends. Maybe we can get together. And I'm like, you better be the first to die.
So, because there's that, and then because everybody's kind of scoping out their own rooms and stuff too while all this is going on. And that's where I think this is where the scene where Art and Chaz are canoodling.
Yeah.
With nobody else in the room.
Nobody else in the
joke
room.
is for nobody.
It's for nobody.
Which-
And you know what? Hey, as we always say, Nathan, live your best life.
Oh, right.
But
But
I
it was
mean-
1985. You couldn't.
Don't pretend. Don't pretend. Don't
No.
hide it with jokes. If you want it, go for it, guys. He says, "Let's play hide the sausage." Is the line in that
Yes.
scene.
Yeah.
There's also, and this is
That's where I got the Tennessee Williams play thing, because we do get a pre-scene before the dinner where Rob and Nikki are like out on a balcony.
Oh,
and they're talking about his dad and stuff like that, and not living up to expectations. It's like, what the fuck, movie? What are you doing?
again, I don't like really need that part. Like, that was a weird, seemingly
It was a hard tone shift.
Yeah, it was a little strange. And then we get like a whole because everybody goes into the rooms and everybody's finding all these April Fool's Day pranks. I want to go through just a list because some of them I was like slightly more harsh than some of the other ones. Because in one of them, there's like he finds like these newspaper articles. I think it's Hal who finds these newspaper articles about like a car crash and like people dying. Biff goes in and finds like a crack, like a spoon and like a heroin paraphernalia.
Yeah,
and
which
I'm like,
never pays out.
yeah, and I'm just like, what the fuck, April Fool's Day? Like, that's fucked up. I just want you to think I have a drug problem.
Yeah.
There's like a Kit might have found the most harmless one. It's like a painting. They think there's like eyes moving behind it. But
I
it's like
loved
a
that.
kitty cat
That was
clock.
that Scooby painting. That was hilarious.
Yeah. I think Nikki pulls open the drawer and finds like a dog collar. Some bondage stuff.
Yep.
There's a sink that sprays upwards.
Yes.
Nan finds an odd one. She hears a baby crying, and it's like a tape of a baby crying, which, by the way, that comes back into play a little later. And it's another weird, like, it's another thing where I'm like, I don't know if I needed that detail.
It's like, no.
It's a complete tone shift, too.
So, our swarm of wasps are exploring their
nest.
their nest. Finding all these really, I don't know, this messed up things.
Oh, and the lamps, the domino lamps.
Oh, yeah, I kind of like that. That was a funny bit.
Yeah, turning on the
Like,
lamp,
if that was
turning off.
set up to be exactly.
Yeah, turning off the lamp, it turns on the next one, et cetera, yeah. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
unplug it, dude.
Well, that's eventually he just unscrews the light bulb in it.
But he walks around like an idiot for quite a while.
Yeah. Biff, he tries to hit on Muffy and strikes out. I think that was the thing that you had talked about their families being friends and maybe they could. And she was like, ha ha ha.
Well, that was Hal earlier practicing.
Oh, it was
how he
Hal?
gonna hit
Okay.
on everybody wants to fuck everybody in this movie. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, because it was the 80s and they were, 20.
We're all gonna live forever.
Right.
Yeah. So Biff is straight up denied by Muffy. He does like walk into another room, and Chaz and Nikki are. I don't know what position that is.
Contortionist sex,
Yeah.
man. Holy.
That is like a jigsaw puzzle of fucking. Because when I saw it at first, I was like, "Are they having sex?" It's like the placement of their legs and everything, and the demeanor on both of their faces is not one of pleasure.
No.
It just looks like they're like doing their dishes.
It's like, getting her done, getting her done, getting her done.
Well, gotta make this baby trickle down. Yeah, it's like they're doing the Kama Sutra, but like they're not psyched about it.
It's like an academic exercise in sex.
It's like their homework assignment.
Are you taking notes? Because I think this is going to be on the test.
Okay, A, insert slot A into tab B.
Boo!
So yeah, they're basically doing their taxes and having sex. That Skip guy is outside, and he picks out some flowers or something.
And he huffs on him super hard. I'm like, is that supposed to be weed? Like, I don't get that.
I don't even know what he's doing, but he hears a noise, and then he goes off into like a shed. He's looking around. He sees something. Cut away. Clearly, we've watched enough horror movies to know something bad happened to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we cut away from that. Then the next day, Hal is working out with like one of those like I don't even know, like a workout bar, like the bendy one.
Yeah, it's that's it. It's a workout bar. It's the one you bend. It's it provides resistance so you can work your your biceps and stuff like that.
And while he's doing this, Nan, I believe, is looking out the window in the most like.
Okay, no, she's not looking out the window. She greets the fucking morning with her shirt unbuttoned, stretching out wide, and is appalled that someone would see her doing that.
Yeah.
What the hell do you think was going to happen?
I mean, I get it if she did that and Hal was like being a real creep, like leering and making like faces and stuff, but he just kind of catches her in the corner of his eye.
Yeah. And doesn't he kind of like he waves to her
Yeah,
too.
and she's like, huh? And like closes the window. And it's weird that Nan would do this.
It is a little odd.
She's the like, quote unquote pent up one.
But
he does
come to find out later that she's not as repressed as she lets
his
on.
exercise bar does get a boner too. that was the good visual there.
Yeah.
I wrote down Muffy looking roughy.
Oh, because she they go into the kitchen, and she's there, and it looks like she's making breakfast or something like that, and she's all disheveled. She just got out of bed, her hair's a mess, and things like that, which kind of plays into like the first twist, which we'll get to when we get to.
And she's being very odd. Rob has another existential crisis about his future, which she's confiding in Kit for a while. So she's like, you know what? You're going to be great. Let's go have sex in that shed that somebody definitely didn't die in earlier in the movie.
While Chaz and Biff play football in the backyard.
And they go find their own shed, I'm sure.
Obviously, yeah.
So Rob and Kit are in the shed. They're getting down to Pound Town. They're about to
on slat board flooring.
Oh, yeah.
Like that. It looks like it would be some really uncomfortable screwing.
They're in a country estate. Find a bed.
Yeah. You don't need to sneak off like a hired hand.
This is not like Camp Crystal Lake. You don't have to go somewhere where kids don't watch. There are no kids. Just go and find a bedroom and fuck. Like,
yeah.
Chaz knows where it's at. But yeah, so they're going off. They're about to get it done, and then we see Skip's corpse in the water pass underneath the shed, and naturally they are a little freaked out.
Yeah,
but not as freaked out, and everyone else is not as freaked out as they should be. Though I will say that
I think this cast will probably go as a whole into the non-plus reaction category for the Manos handouts later this year.
For sure. Most of them. I'll say, like, obviously Kit and Rob are freaked out. But everybody else is just kind of like, oh, okay, let's go see who killed him.
I do have a note here that because we had said that the way Muffy was behaving, I was like, I put my first note. Is she like a reverse sundowner? Because when you first meet her, it's in the evening, and she is hip and happening and got it together. We find out her last name is St. John, by the way, which every time they were taking a dig at her, I personally felt attacked.
You should.
Right? Because that's where I'm from.
I mean, the movie was filmed in Canada, so it's clearly a direct reference.
Really? Because it said Maine on all the plates.
Weird. It was totally filmed in Vancouver.
And then of course during the day she's a little off. And this is where I think Nan confronts her about the baby tape too, doesn't she?
Yeah, because, well, we learn later. I mean, we might as well just explain it now, but we learned that Nan had an abortion in her past, and she thought that the baby tape was like a direct reference to that, and she's like, that's incredibly cruel, which, if that's the case, that would be an incredibly cruel April Fool's Day prank.
Well, I mean, it I don't know. I think it kind of is from what we find out later, but we'll get that because, you know, what's going on right now though is we're trying to find out what may have happened to Skip because Rob and Nikki saw him.
Rob and Kit.
But they're
it's Kit. Okay. I knew this was gonna happen. Their names are all over the place. They're all white. Okay, guys, it's difficult.
Yeah. So. They said they saw him in a boat under the boathouse. He looked dead, but they weren't sure. So they're actually off in the woods looking for them, and someone has set a Biff trap.
Yeah, he almost gets bitten by a snake. But yeah, he does get he does step into one of those like
a rabbit snare and
like yeah, it's like the rundown or something.
Yeah.
And as he's like hanging by his foot upside down, we do see a figure approach, kick the snake out of the way, and then cut away. So at this point, they're finally like, you know what? Maybe we should call the cops.
But first, let's get some water. The water's not working.
Oh yeah, it's like. And Muffy, okay, I know at this point we as the audience we don't know what's going on, but they're really leaning into this like Muffy being suspicious thing because she's like, you can go to the well and check it. Oh, I hope they're okay.
Well, she says that the main is probably detached or come on because it happens, and you have to go to the well to fix it.
I'm not worried about those two, Skip and Art. They're probably playing some kind of stupid trick.
So Hal and Nikki both go, and of course Hal is a skeeve, but he's also kind of a derp. Loses the bucket down the well, and then being the big, strong young Republican that he is, sends Nikki down the well to fetch it.
That's the motto. Yeah. If you can't do it, get someone else to do it.
So she she falls down because one of the rungs fucking breaks off on the well wall because the well has like a access rungs like a ladder, so you could go down and reattach the main, like Muffy had said.
And when she falls in, she finds Biff's head, I believe.
Yeah, she finds Biff's head
and
Skip's and Nan's body, which we did not see.
Nope.
Okay, good. I'm glad I didn't miss something.
No, I didn't.
Because
I went back.
I thought I missed a cut or something like that.
Yeah, no, I went back and I was like, when's the last time we saw Nan in the movie? And I think it was just her getting mad about the baby audio tape. And then we didn't see her after that until she showed up dead. And I was like, it's weird that we never saw that.
Yeah. But I mean, it kind of makes sense. Makes sense later. Yeah. When it does. Then, because all of this has happened, they must call the constable.
Well, and there is actually a funny moment just before that too, where they Hal and Nikki do get out of the well, like he does get her out of there, and Nikki is obviously shaken because she's just seen 2 decapitated heads and a third, and a dead body, and Muffy comes over and she's like, "Have some water," and she's like, "From the well?" Like, are you insane? You know where I just was? She's like, no, it's like a Perrier.
Perrier, yeah.
It's like, well, you know what? After I've just been in that dead body well, you better bring the Perrier bottle and let me see you pour that, because I would not be so trusting at that point.
Right? I didn't see any sparkling in that water. I'm just going to put that out there. So if her saying that is Perrier, I don't buy it.
Have some corpse water. But yeah, they do call
full of antioxidants.
Why is there an eyeball in here?
Oh, garnish.
They do call the constable at this point. Because don't they think at the also at this point they're like they're thinking that dude whose eye popped out earlier in the movie could have come back and like is like getting
sought revenge.
Yeah, like bloody revenge on them. And the constable's like, well, that's not possible because I'm currently at the hospital visiting him.
And he's been here the whole time.
What?
Yeah.
I wrote down at this point that Muffy is the best, like, obviously a perp character.
Yeah. Like her sketchiness it really starts amping up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and then this is where we find out that some of the pranks have some malice to them.
Is it?
Because the someone overheard the argument with Muffy and Nan about the abortion tape, and then there was the I found this, which is like S&M gear.
Yeah.
Again, I really wish that they had gone a full exposure on what all of the pranks were supposed to mean, because I really wanted to find out about Biff's severe heroin addiction.
Right? Or maybe he like lost someone to heroin addiction. Like, and if so, again, that is a horribly cruel prank.
Right?
In this point, they're kind of like walking around the house, like looking for stuff, and I think this is where Kit finds a picture of Muffy as a kid with like a girl or someone that looks exactly like her, like a twin.
Yes.
And that's when Muffy interrupts and says, "I hope we can reach the constable. Everything should be fine, though, right?"
And then of course, Chaz and Nikki, they're not so soon for this world because they're off in their room, and he's trying to cheer her up, or not Nikki, God damn it.
No, it's Chaz and Nikki. Which,
it is Chaz and Nikki.
Which
okay.
I get that he's trying to cheer her up, but I'm like, you need to like read the emotion in the room, because she's just been around 3 dead people. Confirmed there are people that have been killed. I don't think it's time to like put on bondage gear and be like, look at me.
Yeah.
There's different kinds of cheering up in this situation, is what I'm saying.
And rightfully, she's not having any of it. She gets up and leaves. He leaves the bag on his head, or the domination face mask on his head, and just kind of like lays back and bemoans the fact that she doesn't want to screw. And then, of course, when she comes back to the room, the door, which she left when she left, was open, is now closed. Yeah, so she goes in. She's trying to get him off the bed and stuff like that, and she's getting mad at him because she thinks it's his way of trying to, I don't know, coax her into seeing his wang, because he's got his hands over his junk. And then she hits him, and the hands fall away, and we find out he's been bobatized.
Yes. Which is the perfect result for that character, by the way.
Yeah.
For that character to have his dick cut off after we saw that Kama Sutra boredom earlier.
Yeah. And then she starts, so obviously she's freaking out because, he's dead. Hal, who was, I don't know, heading towards their direction, hears the screaming and stuff like that. We cut away. We don't see him again until we find out he pulled a full-on Hutchison. Or Carradine, I mean, depending on your pop culture reference that you want to make.
Oh, now I know. Now, okay, I just got it. Well, yeah, and Nikki got killed off screen as well.
Yeah, and then of course this is where we find out about the twins.
Yes, they find out that Muffy has a twin. But before that, they Rob and Kit, because they're the little detectives here. They're walking around and they find figurines of everyone
up in like I think it was up in the attic or something.
Yeah, and some of the figurines are like recreations of what happened earlier.
Yep,
like the well and everything.
Yep.
Yeah,
and they get it's I don't know, like it's a note or something where they find out that it's talking about how Buffy, which would be what's supposed to be her twin, was mentally unstable and shouldn't be released from the psychiatric ward or something like that. And then you're like, oh, it's not it might not really be Muffy. It's got to be Buffy. And then we see the painting again, and when they pull the painting away, it's the dead body of Muffy.
Yeah, her decapitated head. They also find that note in like the bottom of a boat.
Yeah,
because they're out looking for the constable because they think he's going to arrive any minute. And I think they find his boat, right? And then that's where they find it, like inside his boat.
Yep.
And it's just like a warning, like, you know, person is dangerous, approach with caution, escape from the psychiatric ward, etc.
Yeah.
Which I just laughed because it was just like, hey, there's this note here. It's in like perfect condition,
and it makes it makes sense for
of course
what's coming up in a minute here. But
yeah, for sure.
So Rob and Kit, they're on the run. They say that they have to go back to the manor or the estate or whatever to get the keys for the boat, because that's where they are, and they don't want to do it because Muffy told them that the spare keys were in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh, I also laughed at the line where they said, because it said she'd been in an institution for 3 years, and they said, wait a second, Muffy wasn't at an institution for 3 years. She told us she was at Vassar, and I said, Vassar is an institution. Zing!
Oh, good one. That's
Thanks.
Very, very MST of you. So yeah, they're doing this, and of course, this is where everything is like super heightened because the reveal is supposed to have happened, and of course, Buffy is trying to kill Rob and Kit, and Rob gets stuck in a pantry or something like that.
How did that happen?
They get separated, I know that, and
he goes into a room.
Oh, because there's like a foot lock on the outside to keep the door from popping back open, because it's a pantry, right?
But I still don't know how that door closed.
I'm guessing it was supposed to be Buffy that closed it behind because she's supposed to be hunting them.
But she's not anywhere close to the door. That happens. It's weird. Like Rob just like ducks in there, and then suddenly you cut away, and he's like, "Get me out of here!" And he's like banging on the door, and I'm like, "Wait, dude, what did you just do?" I like to think that he went in there and he was like, "Hey, if I pretend that I'm locked inside, I can just wait till everything's good and then be the hero."
Smart Republican move.
That right?
Yeah. So he's locked in there. And, and then, of course, Kit is, she's trying to escape, and she's prying open the doors to, like, the living room or the seating room or whatever rich people call that area of their house. And she pulls the doors open, and everybody's there.
What?
All alive, just shooting the shit, chatting, standing next to the fire. And she, of course, has no idea what's going on. This is the second reveal that it was all a super elaborate prank to demonstrate this business idea that Muffy has to turn her parents' estate into like a murder mystery inn.
Yeah. Yeah. And the twin thing was kind of true, but it's not Muffy and Buffy. It's Skip, who is not her cousin, but her twin brother.
Right. While all this is going on, Rob is still stuck in the pantry, and fucking Buck shows up with half his face off. And that would have been how the door got closed, by the by.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Right?
That makes sense.
And he's screaming and yelling, and then he takes off the prosthetic and like slaps it onto Rob's face, who is still losing his mind about what's going on. And then
as one would.
Right? And then Buck just like slyly pops open the door, able to go out, and then Rob's let in on everything that's going on.
And I like to while we're watching this whole thing where they're all gathered together about talking about the April Fool's Day thing. You can before Buck pops up, Rob is in the room going like, "Kid, I love you.
Yeah,
I love you,
right.
Kid."
We find out that Biff pooped his pants in the woods because the snake was not part of the plan, apparently.
Snake was not part of the plan. We also learned that not only was so Muffy, not only was Muffy in on it, but she also had so the captain from earlier was her family's ferryman, and the constable, quote unquote. I don't think he was a real.
I think he was like her uncle.
Okay.
Because after that's kind of revealed, Hal being that fucking Alex P. Keaton that he is, like wants to schmooze with him so he can get a job with his company because Muffy is from money and stuff like that. So anybody who would have been anybody in that family would be directly involved in the family business.
Yeah. So after Kit and Rob collect their wits about them because they've just been part of a horrific April Fool's Day prank. Everybody is like celebrating with champagne. What is that song that is playing? Because I've heard that song and I don't know the name of it, but it's so great.
I don't even know. I didn't even recognize it. Didn't register with me.
Yeah, but they're all like they're pouring champagne all over each other, and I'm like,
wasting
these rich,
just wasting it, right?
Yeah, these rich white people, I'll tell you.
This is just doing away with good booze.
Look at all our excess. Spend, spend, spend. Nobody in the future will pay for it. And we think that is the last reveal, but it is not.
No.
Because Muffy is drunk as shit. She's had a good night. And she goes upstairs, goes into her room where she finds a present.
Yep.
And she's like, oh, this makes sense. Everybody was in the room with me, but of course, there's a present. So she starts to open it, and it's a Jack-in-the-Box.
Yep.
And of course, she goes to, she's moving the little wheel or whatever.
The crank.
Or lever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's waiting, and then she's like, no, I can't. No, okay, I got to. And she finishes, and the thing pops up. And as the thing pops up, someone pops up from behind Muffy and slits her throat. And you're like, at first, having not seen this in a while, I said, oh, I forgot about this additional twist that somebody was actually, like, somebody in the house is actually a little bit psycho. And then we see who it is, and it's Nan with, like, slicked back hair.
And a fake knife that puts out fake blood.
Yeah, and then I swear to God, she looks right down the barrel of the camera.
Oh, she does, and it says April Fool. I was legitimately waiting for like a shocking lesbian kiss at the end.
Well, she kisses her, but on the cheek.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. You just wanted like the next 10 minutes to just be just over the credits. I mean, I could talk about this part for days on end because they cut to as the movie ends and, she goes, April Fools, looks directly at the camera and then makes a little face at her. They cut to the Jack-in-the-Box on the ground and it fucking winks.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yes. They go a little over the top with the comedy at the end.
Hold on, we've just entered a whole new realm with that. Because, are you saying this is sentient? I gotta say too, so I was shocked when I first that's the end of the movie, by the way.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I first watched this movie with that whole ending because I think it divided people at the time, and probably still now, because I don't think you could do that now. I think having the whole like it was all a prank, it was all a dream type ending would make people so angry, and I don't think it would fly.
I guess here's the thing for
or the
me.
people don't, or I should say studios don't think it would fly. I don't think they would let it get out there.
No. Well, the that it was all a dream trope, that bugs me. That always bothers me to no end, right?
Yeah, like Dallas or whatever.
Or Click.
Oh, yeah.
But with this, it's not everything was a dream. It was an elaborate setup. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a dream. All the stuff really happened. All the fear that Rob and Kit felt towards the end, and we also come to find out all the fear that everybody else felt when they were about to be quote unquote killed was real, because Muffy didn't let anybody in on the secret until their time to be clipped was up.
Right, and until she quote unquote killed them. Yeah.
Right, and then she'd say, "This is what's going on, and now I have to hide you away in the sitting room in the estate or whatever, and it'll all be revealed at the end. Okay, thanks for being a good sport. Sorry if I hurt your feelings. When I implied about that whole heroin addict thing, and the baby tape."
Which does present a few logistical errors, though, or logistical issues, because especially the scene with Nikki and Chaz, because how much time does she need to explain to Chaz like all of that before Nikki shows back up and set up that elaborate gag?
Don't move, don't breathe, don't say a thing, just cover your junk, and it'll look like we cut your dick off.
I'm on board for the twist. Like, I think it's pretty funny. But I do, like, when I look back at the movie, I'm like, there were some moments that I don't know. I think a lot of things would have had to be in place for that to work.
Yeah, there's definitely some timeline issues, and of course, you also are operating under the assumption that everybody would absolutely go along with this horrendous fucking thing.
Yeah. And that I kind of appreciate that Nan seemingly. I mean, she gets her back, right? So I feel like it's interesting that Nan is the one that kind of doesn't go along with it, or maybe just like, goes off and hides somewhere, or says she'll go along with it, and really in the back of her head is like, I'm going to get her back.
Well, because in all fairness, of all the people, and we don't find out what's up with Art/Biff/Tom Seth Wilson, but of all the malicious pranks that are pulled, hers is probably one of the worst if she legitimately did have an abortion.
Oh yeah, that has to be that's the cruelest for sure. I also want to note too that what's interesting to me is that this movie was remade in like 2008.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the remake, I think it's straight to video, but in the remake, spoiler alert, not like it matters, we'll probably never talk about it, but the ending of that one is that Muffy is doing her big thing where she's like, oh, the country estate, I get to run it now because of this successful whodunit. And she actually like jokingly points a gun to her head, pulls the trigger, and there's a real bullet in it, and she kills herself because she doesn't know. She thinks it's just like a prop gun.
Okay.
And then the end of the movie is like, oh, she like, there's a terrible thing. She messed up, and the country estate goes to her twin. And then at the end, the twin is like apparently like driving away from the the hearing or whatever, and there's like a slow, like sly smile on his face, as if like the whole thing was his setup to just get the country estate. That just proves to me that they can't, like, they were like, oh, we can't do this ending where it's all a gag. Like we have to do this, like we have to still stick to the horror thing at the end, which is like.
So somebody has to be legitimately evil is what
yeah. I just kind of appreciated that it was goofy, and I totally get why some people would be like, fuck that, but I don't know, it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, because again, I don't know, I haven't seen this done in the only movie that I can think of that's even kind of like it would be in the same kind of vein as far as a twist goes is The Game with Michael Douglas.
Yeah, that's the one I thought too, and I actually really like the twist in that too.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen.
Yeah, get on it. Yeah, it's 25 years old. Yeah, get on it.
Get to it, guys. Watch The Game. It's a good Fincher movie. I say that as if they're like in short supply. Like, oh, he's only made a couple good ones.
Yeah, they're hit and miss. You never know with old Finchy.
Yeah, they can't all be Alien 3 or whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's April Fool's Day. So Nathan, would you say that this movie was worth a watch, a drunk watch with friends? Would you commit head trauma to forget it, or avoid like the plague?
Oh no, this is 100% worth a watch, especially if you're a fan of the genre, because it's not something that's done often, where everybody makes it out and everyone drives home, successful in a limo, as they say, because these guys are all rich. So it's worth a watch just because of how different the ending goes. Now, unfortunately, if you've listened to this and you haven't seen it, you know what's coming. You're gonna have to kind of check your memory at the door, because it's a lot more fun not knowing and seeing the twists, and you'll actually get a good laugh out of it. Whereas if you know it's coming, you'll still get the laugh because you'll see it coming, but it's not as satisfying.
And did you experience it being in the dark about the ending?
I did and I didn't. I knew that the movie itself had an ending where it was all elaborate gag and everybody gets out. But the stuff in the story that made the story go, I wasn't aware of. So like the other twin, the malicious pranks, things like that. So that kind of helped a bit with me knowing that, okay, everybody's probably going to make it out at the end. And then, of course, when Nan popped up at the end, I was like, wait a second. I thought, oh, okay, you got me, movie. You got me.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely right there with you. This is worth a watch. Unlike that shit we were going to talk about.
Right, that garbage. 1.21 gigawatts. What's a fucking flux capacitor?
Come on. Yeah, no, this is a total worth a watch. Sometimes we stumble upon these, and they turn out pretty good. It's full of 80s cheese, so there's that. I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum. So you'll have a good time watching this movie. And now that you've listened to our podcast, you know how it ends. So, disclaimer at the end: rewind your memory, go into your local Eternal Sunshine clinic, wipe it away, and watch the movie. But on that note, we are going to take a brief break, and we will be right back.
What were they thinking?
It's late, it's time, let's check our cue, baby. Pair it with a couple brews, baby. We love good movies. We love the bad ones too. So we watch them all and pass their lessons on to you. Oh yeah. Everything I learned from movies helps to make life a little bit groovy. With a one-last plot holes of gratuitous movies. It's time to get busy with your friend Steve and Izzy. At eilfm.podbean.com.
What were they thinking?
And we're back.
Yes, we are. We're back.
We're back. And it's time for the low haiku. Nathan, what is I've been wondering, what is a low haiku?
Oh, fresh from the Eternal Sunshine clinic, are you? Because you ask every week.
Yeah. Is this a podcast? I'm not sure.
It is. It's one about bad to questionable movies, and the low haiku
and this week
section.
We're talking about April Fool's Day. Let's begin.
No. That's happened. But to answer your question, the low haiku is 17 perfect syllables to describe the movie we have just talked about, and we're going to do it in our best NPR voices.
Alrighty. Would you like to start us off?
Mm-hmm. Now, my low haiku is actually more towards the idea of April Fool's Day than this movie necessarily. So please do bear with me.
Okay.
Are you a pagan? then Happy New Year's to you. Ha, April Fool's Day.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
To all our wonderful pagans out there.
Well, that's the story behind April Fools, is when they switched the calendars to the the Caesars and whatnot, and January became the beginning of the year. The pagans were still celebrating their.
Contrary to popular belief, it did not start with a can of peanuts that was in fact just a snake that popped out.
No, that tradition came much later.
It was a little lost in translation over the years. Okay, well, here's my haiku. Don't care what you say. Back to the Future still sucks. Ha, 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 April Fools. Very good, very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hoo-ah! We Pacino'd this thing.
In the Zoom room.
Oh, it took like 55 minutes for the technology to work. Fuck you, Internet.
So we talked about this movie.
We sure did.
Yeah, we did. That's the thing we did. I don't know why I stumbled there. But what do we always say?
Well, Brandon, my friend, we always say...
Don't take a word for it.
All right, well, we head over to Rotten Tomatoes to see what people are saying. Nathan, what percentage of critics liked this film?
Well, I am not in either of these camps, by the way. 52% of critics like this.
Which is honestly, like, I know it's rotten, but that's not terrible for like an forgotten 80s.
It's a university passing grade, so.
There you go. Yeah, you'll get further in your career with that grade, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, but this is the weird thing to me, because I thought this other score was going to be higher. But what does the audience think of this movie?
The audience only gave it 47% out of over 10,000 ratings.
And again, I think it goes to a lot of people not digging that twist. And maybe even being angrier when the double twist is also a joke.
It's just, man, again, it's not the same as It Was All a Dream. And that's probably the reason why I am fine with the way that twist worked out in this flick.
I'm actually surprised that I liked it, because if it was described to me as like a horror movie where you think everyone dies and then they don't actually die and it's all a prank, just hearing that I'd be like,
no thanks.
Yeah. Pass. But let's get into it. Let's see what the critics are saying. Nick Shager of Lessons of Darkness says, "I've seen this film before ... as an episode of The Golden Girls."
Yes. Yeah, that was very similar plot devices were used in an episode of The Golden Girls.
So is this like Betty White's head like show up on a shelf or something?
It's not like it's The Golden Girls is a half-hour show on NBC, so it wasn't anywhere near as bloody as that, or as
Oh my god!
There was very little S&M unless they were talking about Blanche.
Dorothy has a twin.
Tim Brayton of Antagony and Ecstasy wrote, "One of the savviest examples of slasher film self-commentary in existence, beating Scream by a cool 10 years and a half. 7 out of 10. I get what he's going with, although it's not a... the characters really died in Scream. It's not the same kind of twist.
I don't think it's like a picking apart of the genre as much as Scream is.
No. Maybe he's just like the idea that it's a comedy horror slasher.
Yeah. By the way, looking back at that first Scream movie, it still totally holds up. Still a great movie.
Yeah.
All right, well, Mike Massey of Gone with the Twins says, updating the famous Agatha Christie tale with adolescent tricks, sexual innuendo, wrestling under the bed sheets, and bloody violence, the film maintains moderate interest. Just like that last part. It maintains moderate interest.
Indeed. Well, Christopher Nolan from filmcritic.ull. From Film Critic.
Watch this on a big screen or I'll kill you. Sorry.
From filmcritic.com. Noted quite simply, classic horror cheese.
There you go. All right, enough of those people. Let's get in. Let's talk about the audience.
All right, that's what these lunatics have to say.
All right. Well, the first one I've got here is from an anonymous reviewer, and they give it to. So I'm guessing it's from Anonymous, the organization.
The organization, yep.
Yeah, they give it 3. They give it 3 out of stars. Said an underrated film that usually becomes a topic of debate between horror and non-horror fans. The film is from 1986, so if you weren't there, then you don't know what it was like. Twist/dream/hoax endings were huge, and they were everywhere, including a way to end music videos, TV like Dallas and Newhart, films, and commercials. April Fool's Day was marketed as a horror slasher picture against the director's wishes, so the film is tied to reluctance from production. Otherwise, if you take the film for what it's worth, it's an enjoyable ride. The only major gripe I have with the film is the sound. The sound engineer decided to add a constant jet sound to everything. If you are a musician, it is a flange effect, and it is absolutely awful. A serious audio transfer is needed. He went hard on that sound thing at the end. I didn't know that the director was like...
Didn't want it marketed the way that... Yeah, that's news to me.
It kind of makes sense, though, because I think if it was marketed not as a comedy and people went in and got a comedy, and especially with that ending, I could see where the director might be a bit frustrated.
Interesting tidbit.
Because this tidbit is interesting.
That's right. I experienced something similar with Dale and Tucker versus Evil.
Oh, okay.
That movie is hilarious.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. However, I would not describe it to non-horror fans as you're going to laugh so hard at this movie.
Right, because that screening you did.
Right. I was the only one laughing in the room, and I'm like, guys, come on, this is hilarious, but none of them were horror fans, so like the whole tropes being made fun of and stuff like that was just totally lost on them, and all they saw was this group of teens being mercilessly killed, inadvertently, but still mercilessly killed in the woods.
I mean, come on, guys. He fell on his own chainsaw. It's hilarious. Start laughing. No, that's a legitimately great movie. Rob Marshall, director of Chicago. Yeah. Chris C., so I'm assuming Chris Cuomo of CNN.
Don't ask me about my brother. That's what it says.
Yeah. I cannot report on that. Please don't make me say anything. Chris Cuomo gives it 5 out of stars. And he says, this is one of the best whodunit movies I've ever seen. I remember watching this when I was a kid when it first came out and thinking, what a great idea. I'm going to do that when I grow up. Of course, I never did, but I feel like this movie really set the path for murder mystery weekend getaways. 2 thumbs up. Guys, don't do what they do in this movie, please.
Right. Be very upfront about it being legitimately a murder mystery weekend.
Yeah. And yeah, don't replicate some of these pranks.
James C., I can only assume it's James Cameron,
okay.
Writes, nice twist, but build-up was nothing special as character development was non-existent. 2 out of stars. I
mean, he's not wrong about character development for a lot of them, but when you have 57 white characters, it's hard to get a grasp on who's who. This is a very blunt review, but I liked it. Graham D. Gives it 2.5 out of stars. Could have been a lot of fun. Wasn't.
Sorry, I didn't have a good time with that because Andrew G.
did. Andrew Garfield.
Obviously. Yeah. He says, one of the most clever, creative, and fun entries in the slasher genre. 4.5 out of stars.
There you go, Andrew, from Spider-Man himself.
Yeah.
All right, my last one here is from Anna Q., and she gives it 1 out of stars. She says, I remember seeing this. It was at a slumber party. I cannot tell you anything about it, but the fact that I recalled this movie gives it an automatic star.
Oh, man. Well,
So I'm going to denigrate the rating of this movie because I can vaguely remember it. 1 star.
Well, Paul D, I'm assuming it's Paul Dangerously, Paul Heyman's character in WCW, wrote, "Too slow and predictable to get any real enjoyment out of it. The scares certainly do not come at a quick enough pace. The cast are mostly unlikable, disappointing to say the least. 2 out of stars."
I was thinking when you said Paul D, I was like, oh, I hope I get a Paul Dano impression out of him. I want to hear what that sounds like.
I don't know who that is.
He's the dude. He's like one of the best friends, like the nerdy best friend from The Girl Next Door. He's in like Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh, okay.
He's in Prisoners. He's like the weird dude in Prisoners that they think Hugh Jackman thinks like has something to do with his daughter disappearing. Well, those are the reviews. But Nathan, do you have anything you want to ask us? I mean, it's obviously something you want to ask later, but anything you want to ask right now?
Yeah, I just, with everything that's going on in the world, the whole pandemic stuff, and I'm just kind of curious as to, what you watching, bud?
Well, I just watched a movie written, which I found out was written or co-written by the dean from Community, to which he actually won an Oscar for.
Okay.
But it's the 2011 movie The Descendants, starring George Clooney.
Oh, I've heard very good things about that.
It's excellent. So George Clooney, his wife is in the hospital after like a bad boating accident, and basically he's like trying to reconnect with his kids. It's a very it's a drama. It's a methodically paced drama. It's very good though. And if you like Alexander Payne, if you like movies like Election or Sideways or anything like that, his other movies, I think you will really like this. It was a big awards hit. And again, the dean from Community co-wrote it and won an Oscar. I will say no more. The Descendants. Watch it today, at home. Order it on pay-per-view.
Okay.
Nathan, what about you? What you watching, bud?
Well, bud, I actually have been looking into my Shudder subscription because, unfortunately, a lot of times I find that my Shudder subscription gets often overlooked because really I'm the only genre fan in the house, with the exception of Cheyenne. But some of the stuff on Shudder is not necessarily stuff that you want to expose your little kids to.
Apropos, yeah.
I mean, she's 16, so I mean she's kind of old enough. But I watched one.
What age were you when you watched Nightmare on Elm Street again, Nathan?
I was 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I was 7. But I recently took another gander at the movie Mayhem.
Okay.
On Shudder. With Stephen Yen from Glenn from The Walking Dead,
and Samara Weaving.
And I was gonna say, and not Margot Robbie.
She's great though.
She is really great. The whole movie itself is awesome. It's like, it's like Office Space meets 28 Days Later.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
And it's weird, I know, because we're going through this whole thing that we're going through with the the pandemic, but the idea is that this rage virus is something that can be contained and abated in mere days or something like that. But if there is an outbreak, places that it happens get immediately locked down. So if I could, I'm saying it is like Office Space meets 28 Days Later with just a little bit of Dread or the Raid Redemption thrown in to spice things up. Do yourself a favor, check it out. It is on Shudder. It's absolutely worth the 7-day trial, if not the $6 a month. For Shudder.
It's really cost effective for Shudder. It's a good price for what
especially if you're a genre fan, because they would have comedy horrors. They have just straightforward horror movies. There's ghosts and slasher movies. Some of them, I think Microwave Massacre's on there. I know you and Brent I've talked about that one before.
Sure did.
That one's on there. So I mean, if you're, check out Mayhem. It's on Shudder. I can't recommend that enough.
Yeah, and I'll second that because I think you recommended that to me when I first got Shudder, and that is a really fun horror movie. Yeah, Shudder is it's like from Microwave Massacre to Dario Argento. Like that's the range of different horror stuff you get on Shudder.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. All right, well, maybe we should talk about what's coming up next week. Nathan, if you want to drop us a little hintski as to what you got cooking in the oven.
Yeah. Actually, I'll give you that.
Is it Back to the Future?
No,
Okay.
it's not even Back to the Future 2. So
Okay.
Or 3. But I do have a good clue for you. And I'm just gonna get it and double check with it right now to make sure that this is the clue that I'm using. Hello. Yes. Yeah, that's the clue that I'm gonna use. You're okay with that? Okay. All right then. Yep, I'm gonna use it. Okay, bye.
You checked it over to Larry and our legal team?
I did. You want to be sure that it was okay for me to do that because it does involve an impression and something that might actually kind of give away pretty easily. But
and yes, people, if you're wondering, I am referring to our legal team led by Leisure Suit Larry. Okay.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, he's litigious Leisure Suit Larry these days because he's a lawyer.
Yes.
Lawyer, litigious Leisure Suit Larry.
My favorite video game.
Okay. So the hint that we're not getting to is it's family cubed.
All right. Well, and is Montrose Monkington around to say a few things?
He is. Just give me 1 second here. I'll get him. Hello, it's your good friend Montrose Monkington III here. Still into my hiatus. However, I do appreciate everybody who has been, taking the time to take at least a peek at my YouTube channel, Montrose Monkington TV. If you can also swing on over to, like a chimp, on over to Facebook. Be friends with me at Montrose Monkington III Esquire and Friends Facebook group. And then, of course, you can always tweet at me on the Twitter at Montrose III. That's the number 3 D. Thank you. More later.
Wow, never heard that in question before.
I don't know when the hiatus is going to end for me. I honestly don't.
Okay.
But when there will be people who will know. Okay. Thank you. More later, possibly.
Fair enough. Thank you, Montrose.
You're welcome.
Well, and then that's gonna do it for us. You can find us all over the place. We're on all the podcast apps, but our home base is Age of Radio.
Big time.
And of course, you can go to ageofradio.org/whatweretheythinking, or just go to ageofradio.org, and there's some other cool podcasts there too. So check those out. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for What Were They Thinking. We have a Facebook group, What Were They Thinking Interactive, where you can talk to us. We just did a poll. I mean, this is a little while ago because we record in advance, people. A little inside baseball for you. But we just recently did a poll about the worst accents in a movie, and people chimed in on that. So that was a lot of fun. So you can, hang out with us, talk to us, post shit.
There were some hot takes. Folks got stirred.
Oh yeah. There were some Congo takes that got some reoccurring guests a little hot under the covers there.
Yeah.
But we're also on Twitter. You can follow us at Twitter and Instagram at WWTT Podcast. Patreon.com/WWTT Podcast. Get access to some bonus stuff there as well. And other prizes on there, or other awards, I guess. We're also on TeePublic and Redbubble. You can check out some stuff there, some merch. But other than that, I think that is it. So, Nathan, I have to ask, do you have any questions to finish this off?
I guess, yeah, I got a couple. I mean, with a movie where a teenage boy is friends with a local crazed physicist, and with a movie where someone builds a time machine out of a DeLorean, and in a movie where a guy nearly bangs his mom but helps his dad fight a guy named Art, I think. I just gotta ask.
This is heavy.
What were they thinking?
Too bad you're crazy. Too bad you're loony as hell. So long, it could have been swell together. Too bad you're wacko. How sad your marbles are gone.
All gone.
We could be dancing till dawn, but you're too weird for words. How did you get so strange? You were such a beautiful kid. Now you are so deranged. Was it Mom and Daddy? Something I did?
Too bad you're loco.
Too bad.
You should be locked in a cell.
How sad, you're great, but hey, what the hell? You're crazy.
You're off the deep
Bon
end.
voyage.
Your life's a practical joke.
Quel dommage. I'd bail you out, but I'm broke. Your brain's completely fried. Life's just a party trick to you.